Hi, welcome to another Malicious Compliance episode of StorytimeGuru. In this episode, we will read 3 of the best malicious compliance stories. Our first episode is titled, Crazy Mother Demands I Give Her Kid My Tide Pods to Play With. Our second episode is titled, Entitled Mom Wants Free Drinks, and Tries to Steal My Season Pass. Our third episode is titled, Karen Gets Sweet, Instant Karma for Messing with a Tree That Isn't Hers. Hope you like it.
Storytime Guru, the best stories from Reddit.
If you like my content, please support my channel by clicking like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Crazy Mother Demands I Give Her Kid My Tide Pods to Play With. Posted by Etta Storm. Hey everyone, long-time lurker. I never thought I'd actually run into a wild entitled parent, but I did, and boy do I have a doozy for you. I'm in mobile, please excuse formatting, etc., blah blah blah. I do my laundry weekly at the exact same laundromat I have for the last year on the same day of the week at the same time. Nothing ever happened before, that is, until today. I get into the building and I notice a mom, M, and her kid, Ek, probably no older than 5 or 6, just running around without care. I find an open wash and toss my clothes inside, grab my bag of Tide Pods and toss some in. That's when Ek notices what I have and comes up to me. EK, what are those? Me, they are Tide Pods, they clean my clothes. Ek, no they don't. Mommy has a big bottle of soap. Me, these are soap too, but they don't make a mess. Ek, oh, okay. The kid runs off to his and I assume he is telling her all about Tide Pods. I notice out of the corner of my eye and notice M gestures towards me and says something to Ek. A few moments later, the Ek is back, but doesn't say anything to me. I take out my earbud and ask, what's up? The Ek just stares at me and then stares at the bag of pods. I then hear his M yell from across the room, well? Did you get your toy? I was confused, but the Ek just turns tail and runs off back to M. I can see that she is telling Ek something and a few moments later, he's back. EK, can I have some of those? Me, no, they aren't for kids to mess with, Ek, but mommy said I could have some to play with. Me, no you can't, they aren't toys, and they aren't yours, Ek, but mommy said you have to give me some. Me, I don't care what your mommy said, they aren't yours, and they aren't toys. I admit, I started to get heated and my tone of voice started to get more stern. That's when I hear it, the inevitable rumble of an M. This is the super fun conversation that follows. EM, excuse me. Don't you dare yell at my son. Me, I didn't yell at him ma'am, I was just, she cuts me off. M, don't you lie to me. I heard the whole thing and you yelled at my baby. Me, whatever you say, lady. I stopped being polite at this point. Ek, mommy. He won't give me the toy. Me, kid, these aren't toys, she cuts me off. Again, M, give him the toys. Now. You're too old to be playing with toys. I'm a 30-year-old man, he deserves them for being such a good boy today. Me, lady, these are not toys, they are Tide Pods. M, I don't care what they are. My baby wants to play with them and you have to give them to him. Me, no I don't. M now looks like she's about to turn into a cartoon dream whistle at this point, so I decided to put my music back on and ignore her. I could hear her very faint yelling over my music, but I just ignored her, and she walked away with her wailing child. Now here's where this gets funny / kind of alarming. About half an hour later, I notice that my clothes are done drying and I go over to grab my wonderfully warm clothes from the dryer. That's when I glanced up and noticed Ek wasn't with M. I figured he was harassing someone else and didn't think much of it. As I'm folding laundry, I glance up again and there it was. Ek has my bag of Tide Pods next to his M and is playing with the pods, and he's being super aggressive with them, clenching them hard, pulling them from both ends, stomping on them and throwing them around. His M is sitting there smiling while watching her Ek play with a toxic ball of liquid. I immediately walk over and snatch the bag from M and Ek and tell her, me, what the hell, lady? You let your ex steal from me and play with something that is toxic? M, he's fine, it's not like you need them all to yourself. Stop being so selfish. Me, just don't at this point. Look lady, I should call the cops and tell them your kid is running around stealing from people, while you let him and that you're letting him play with toxic things like they are toys. M, you wouldn't dare? He's just a kid. He didn't do anything wrong. And that's when it happened. Her ex had jumped onto a Tide Pod and it burst. As the ex slipped and hit his head. He's fine. This kid started screaming as loud as he could. EM, look what you did. You hurt my baby. I'm calling the cops. Me, a little startled and trying not to laugh out of nervousness for the kid's head hitting the floor. Lady, you call whoever you want. Your kid did this to himself. M just picked up her now snot and soap-covered crying kid and left, still screaming about police and how I hurt her kid. I just went back to folding my clothes and left. Police never came while I was there, but M left her clothes in the washer and I'd give she came back for them. Next week, I'm going to a different laundromat in another town. Best reply by Colin_Radio1. That was amazing, can't believe how irresponsible that parent is. Entitled Mom Wants Free Drinks, and Tries to Steal My Season Pass. Posted by Char Gameread. Short and quick story here. Summer of 2019, a friend and I met up at a water park in our area. Our parents left, and we know our way around the park really well, so after going on a few rides we went to the shop they had on the property and ordered each of us a Coca-Cola. Here comes entitled Karen with her son. The son looked to be somewhere around 10 or 11. My friend and I both have the elite season passes for this water park. Because we usually go every other weekend during the summer, this pass gives us free drinks from all of the shops as a bonus, so we are getting our wristbands scanned. They had electronic chips in them or something, and while we are waiting for our drinks Karen says, Karen, can you two boys get a move on? My son wants a drink. Me, we are waiting for our drinks, we will leave in a second. Karen looks at me and sighs and shrugs at me. It is taking a little longer to get the drinks, as their machine had run out of Coke or something like that. We walked out with our drinks, obviously without paying because of our passes. The Karen starts speed walking towards us, so we stop as we are leaving, and she says, Karen, you two didn't pay. Friend, the elite season pass gives us free drinks. Karen, my son really needs a drink, and he would love it if you would go grab him one for free. At this point I knew she was an entitled parent, and to try to avoid further interaction I pointed to a drinking fountain and said, Me, there is a free drinking fountain over there. My friend and I are walking away and this parent uses the same speed walking maneuver with her kid in tow, and clarifies. Karen, no, my son needs a soda, Sprite is his favorite. My friend is getting a little fed up at this point, so he says, Friend, just buy a soda, it's only like $1 or $2. Karen, getting tense and angry, just let my son use your pass for free. Karen looks at both of us, waiting for one of us to agree, but neither of us said anything. She eventually says, Karen, calmly, can I just see what the elite pass looks like, so I know what to buy next year? At this point I think that she is calming down, so I hold out my wrist to show her the yellow wristband I was wearing. She began examining it and then lunged at it. She tried to grab it but I pulled my arm away. She then continued shouting about how she just wanted to use our passes to get a free drink for her son who really needed it. We just walked away and enjoyed our day at the water park. My friend brought this story up to me again, and now that I am a Reddit user I figured that it would work well here. Also, for anyone who is interested, after this we went up to the customer support stand and explained what happened, giving a description of what her and her son looked like. I am not sure what happened to them after that, but I am picturing a crying Karen getting dragged out with her son looking embarrassed. TL, Doctor, Karen wants to use my season pass to get her son a free drink, then tries to take it off of my arm. Edit, just wanted to stress that she didn't have the chance to actually lay a hand on me, I had pulled my hand away before she could. Best reply by Steve Smullets. She physically assaulted you. Next time defend yourself. Karen gets sweet, instant karma for messing with a tree that isn't hers. Posted by Noised Hens. I was not directly involved in this interaction, but it did occur in the same street I belong to, and the tree could be seen from my house as it was less than 100 feet away. So some brief backstory is necessary to understand the direness of Karen's situation. Karen along with her daughter owns a house in a street along with 7 other people, including me. This street is somewhat private, although it isn't gated. It shares many resources and services that sets it apart from the rest of the community. Basically, it was originally empty land in the middle of an already existing neighborhood bought privately by a group who built houses and sold them. For these reasons this street has a HOA representative, homeowners association, and they share things like lawn maintenance and street repair costs. For example, the street splits the cost for repairing stuff like street lights, and the people that mow the lawns do the entire street at a time. Karen and her daughter are rarely seen in this small street, and they instead rent their house out to newcomers every few months or so. I've only seen them in person a few times since I moved here. On their most recent return a few days ago, they decided to have the tree out in their front yard trimmed down before the next tenant arrives. Unfortunately, this tree belongs to the street and she has no jurisdiction tampering with it, and she know it. She made a half-assed attempt to call the HOA board, and when they did not reply right away she took the initiative to cut the tree to her desires. This morning, a group of workers came in a truck and loud power tools to cut several branches off this large tree. The Indian dude, ID, came out first to complain, and later came the old lady. They have both been living here for a long time and understand the rules clearly. The conversation was distant from my house, especially since I chose not to go outside and join the argument. But it went along the lines of the following. ID, hey. You can't cut that tree. Karen, well, it's on my property. ID, actually, it's not. Tell them to stop cutting it. You need to contact the HOA first. Karen, I did, and they didn't respond, so it's not a big deal if I just trim it, okay? OL, any change affects the value of the entire street and every house on it. You have to stop it. Karen, oh my god. It's just a tree, just give me break, okay? For those that don't understand, the entire street sort of has a common theme to it where every house has a similar design, and each having a tree as part of said design. Stripping this mature tree down to a couple branches completely ruins the look of the street. ID walks up to the workers who are basically already finished. Guys, please stop for now. Karen steps in front of ID. Hey, back off. ID puts his hand on her shoulder to push her away. Karen, stop being aggressive. T goes on for about 30 minutes. The entire time Karen is being extremely rude, interrupting people, and basically whining incessantly. ID, and the other neighbors watching knew they couldn't do anything without contacting the HOA first. They certainly didn't want to touch her, and they couldn't do anything with the workers, because they were hired by Karen. This entire time her daughter didn't say anything and stood at the doorway of her house. The workers continue with the tree, and in no time it was finished. About an hour passes when ID and OL return with news from HOA. It was true that Karen couldn't touch the tree, and everyone knew that. But what Karen didn't know was that the consequences were extremely straightforward and relentless. When they began to explain to Karen her remaining options, she had a bitchy smirk of victory on her face, but it didn't take long for it to be completely wiped away. HOA policies dictate that she has to completely replace the tree, which means that she needs to hire people to come dig the tree out, pay for a new tree, pay for it to be planted, and pay for the lawn that will be inevitably torn up as the tree is being replaced. If she does not comply, her house will be put on lien and be no longer considered an extension of our private street. For those that aren't fluent in real estate terms like me, this means that Karen cannot sell, rent, or refinance her property until said conditions are met. Even if she complies right away, her new tenant will be delayed at least a week or more while the tree is being dug up. This is just such a sweet and fitting end to her entitled attitude. In total she will be set back thousands of dollars for essentially nothing except lacking consideration of those around her. I'm not entirely clear on the costs, but I expect it to be at least $10,000. Moral of the story, don't fuck around with trees. They have countless lawsuit and HOA strings attached to them, and don't be a bitch to your neighbors. TLDR, Karen messes with a tree that belongs to the street. She gets an absolutely brutal and satisfying ultimatum. Edit. I reread my post and decided that I didn't do as good a job as I wanted to explaining why the Karen deserves her justice. I forgot to mention that she did flip everyone off and threatened to call a lawyer. She acted really childish overall and kept repeating the same phrase of something like "you can't touch me." I did nothing wrong over and over while interrupting people. Her daughter wasn't too much better, but you can't really blame her for trying to defend her mother a little bit. She probably just didn't understand what her mother really did. Her daughter was like, stop shouting, don't get aggressive, etc. Edit 2. After talking with some of my neighbors, it turns out Karen was a bitch long before I moved here. A long time ago there was a rule that you couldn't park your car on your driveway, which most people thought was stupid. I think it's stupid too. The rule was set when the street was built because people wanted it to look nice or something. Apparently Karen took this rule way too seriously and kept on giving tickets to the old ladies. Husband. I mean, come on. What a way to get to know your next door neighbor. Before long the entire street voted the law out 7-1. Guess who wanted to keep it? Karen also locked the back gate of the street closed and didn't give the key to anyone, because she thought she was entitled to control who gets to use the community gate. Too bad I wasn't there at the argument because I could have transcribed more of what they said. Karen kept on trying to change the subject and put blame on Ol for letting her bamboo fall into her backyard. Bruh, Ol was sick that day. So what an asshole for arguing with a sick old lady. I'd also like to mention the trees. Yes, trees. I realized after looking closer at her yard, she cut were 2 cypress trees and a deciduous tree that grows red seeds in hard pods that I forgot the name of. The cypress trees she cut were towering and magnificent. She trimmed them down halfway and they will never regrow, because both are at least 20 years old. That's all I can remember to add. Thanks for reading. Best reply by foreign_astronaut. Tree law. If you like my content, please support my channel by clicking like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.